Maya woke before sunrise, her small feet touching the cold kitchen floor. The room smelled of damp walls and old wood. She paused for a moment by her mother's bedroom door. Inside, Rosa lay under thin blankets, her breathing shallow and slow. Maya's heart tightened. She brushed a lock of dark hair from her forehead and crept to the tiny stove. She had learned to cook from her grandmother's recipe book, its pages yellowed and stained. In the dim light, she opened the worn cover and turned to the cookie recipe. She had tried it once before, but that first batch burned at the edges. And her mother had smiled bravely even as she whispered, "They taste like charcoal." Maya kept practicing. Tonight, she believed she had finally mastered the soft, sweet dough that melted in the mouth. On the counter, a tin held a dozen cookies, each one a little golden promise. Maya counted them as if they were treasures. Her mother's next doctor visit loomed in a week, and the cost was beyond what they could ever afford. Rosa used to work at a dress shop, but her illness made even standing painful. The bills piled up like gray clouds. Maya had begged her mother to rest, but her mother's gentle eyes had told her everything. There was no time to waste. At 6, Maya tied an old cloth around her waist to hold the cookies. Her shoes had holes in them, but she tucked her feet into soft socks, hoping no one would notice. She pulled on her coat, threadbare but clean, and slipped out the door. The morning air was crisp, and birds chirped faintly from the courtyard. Trees. Maya clutched the tin and made her way down the narrow stairwell, her stomach churning with nerves and hope. The street was still quiet. A few neighbors hung laundry on lines between buildings. A stray cat meowed as it passed. Maya paused outside Mrs. Khan's shop, where colorful scarves draped in the window. She knocked softly. Mrs. Khan opened the door slowly, her kind face lit up when she saw Maya. "My dear, what brings you here so early?" she asked, stepping aside to let Maya in. Maya held out the tin. "I made cookies, please. I need to sell them." Mrs. Khan peered at the treats, then at Maya's determined face. "All right, little one. How much?" Maya said, her voice barely above a whisper. Mrs. Khan counted out money carefully and handed it to Maya. "Here are 2 for 40. Good luck, dear." Maya slipped the coins into her pocket, her heart pounding. 2 cookies sold 40 rupees closer to the hospital bill. She thanked Mrs. Khan and hurried on. She tried selling at a small cafe next, but the owner frowned. Already have plenty here." He shut the door before she could show him a cookie. Maya's chest tightened, but she moved on without complaining. Rejection was part of the plan. By mid-morning, she stood outside the Hirie's office, where Nathaniel Grant worked. It was an elegant building of glass and steel, so different from her own crumbling walls. She shifted the tin in her coat and raised her chin. Inside, suits moved swiftly down the halls. Maya took a deep breath and offered cookies to each person. She passed. Some shook their heads. Others glanced quickly and turned away. Then she saw him. Nathaniel Grant stepped out of an elevator, his shoulders straight, his expensive shoes clicking on the floor. Maya's heart skipped. People whispered his name like a secret. He was known to be kind, but also private. She believed in her heart that he would listen. Maya held out the tin. "Sir, would you buy a cookie, please?" Nathaniel stopped. Looked at her thin coat, her brave eyes, and the simple tin. He picked up a cookie and bit into it. His eyes widened. It was sweet, soft, with just the right hint of cinnamon. He swallowed and smiled. "These are wonderful," he said. "Why are you selling cookies?" Maya's throat tightened. "My mother is sick. We cannot pay for her treatment. I bake and sell cookies to save money." Nathaniel's smile faded. He searched her small face for truth. "How much for one?" 20 rupees. He reached into his wallet and pulled out a crisp note. "I'll buy all these today and every day for the next week. Keep the money and keep baking." Maya blinked back tears. "Thank you, sir." She tucked the note into her pocket as if it might disappear if she blinked. He watched her for a moment, then turned and walked away. Maya lowered her chin and let the weight of her hope settle in her chest. She would bake again tonight and tomorrow, and for the next week, till she had enough. She hurried home and found her mother sitting up, a rare smile on Rosa's face. Maya showed her the money. "You will buy cookies all week," she said. Rosa's eyes shone with relief. "That is wonderful, Maya. You are so brave." Maya set the tin on the small table. She took her mother's frail hand. "I will not let you suffer, Mama. I will bake as many cookies as I must." That night, Maya stayed up late by the single bulb hanging from the ceiling. She sifted flour and measured sugar. The dough took shape under her practiced hands. Hummed softly, thinking of her mother's smile that morning. The oven hissed as it heated. Maya placed each cookie carefully, spacing them evenly. While the cookies baked, Maya looked at her grandmother's book. She traced the words of the recipe. With her finger, she remembered her grandmother's laughter, the way she would clap her hands whenever Maya got a batch just right. Maya whispered a silent promise. "I will make you proud, Nani." The scent of baking cookies filled the apartment. It was a warm, hopeful smell, like comfort wrapped in sweetness. Maya pulled the tin from the oven and let the cookies cool. She packed a dozen into the tin and closed it carefully. Tomorrow morning, she would wake again before dawn. She would walk to the office building, to the cafe, to every doorstep she knew. She would carry these cookies and a promise that she would save her mother's life. Outside, the moon shone pale through the narrow window. Maya pressed her hand against the glass. In the quiet night, she felt both small and unstoppable. Thought of the coins in her pocket, the hope in her heart, and the face of the stranger who had believed in her today. Tomorrow the journey would continue. But tonight, Maya allowed herself to rest, to dream of a day when her mother would be well again. She lay down beside Rosa, the tin beside her pillow, and closed her eyes. In sleep, she dreamed of golden fields of wheat, of laughter that filled rooms, and of a future where a poor girl's cookies changed everything. When dawn came, Maya would rise again, ready to face another day with bravery. She would fill her tin with fresh cookies and her heart with quiet courage. Because for Rosa, for herself, and for the stranger who believed in her, Maya would never give up. And so her story began. Maya woke before sunrise again, her small hands reaching for the tin of cookies on the bedside table. Her heart felt lighter than the night before, because she knew she would bake again for Mr. Grant. She slid quietly out of bed so as not to wake her mother. Toza slept with her head resting on her thin arm, a small smile on her face even in dreams. Maya pressed a gentle kiss to her mother's forehead and tiptoed into the kitchen. The first light of dawn filtered through the dusty window as Maya measured flour in a bowl. Her movements were steady and practiced now. She had made dozens of batches, and each time she learned something new: how long to stir, how low to set the heat, how to watch for the perfect golden brown edge. She hummed a soft tune her grandmother used to sing, letting its gentle melody guide her rhythm. The dough came together smoothly. Soon, she was scooping spoonfuls onto a baking tray. While the cookies baked, Maya thought of the promise she had made last night to save her mother, to keep baking until the debt was paid. She counted the days in her head. Today was the second sale to Mr. Grant. She needed to earn enough for one doctor's fee. Then another and another. She filled her heart with determination. This simple act, selling sweet treats, was her way of fighting back against fear and illness. When the timer rang, she pulled the tray from the oven, carefully transferring the warm cookies into the tin. They smelled of vanilla and cinnamon. Just like hope, Maya packed them neatly, closing the lid with a soft click. She washed her hands, brushed her hair, and dressed in her coat. Outside, the city's streets were quiet, as if they too were waiting for the day to begin. At the office building, Maya climbed the same steps and nodded to the security guard, who no longer seemed surprised to see her. She walked through the lobby, with her tin held close. A few people passing by offered polite smiles, and some even stopped to buy a cookie. But her eyes searched for the tall figure in a dark suit. When Mr. Grant appeared, Maya's heart quickened. He greeted her with a warm smile. "Good morning, Maya," he said. as if they had shared many days together. He reached for the tin and picked a cookie. His eyes lit up as he tasted it. "They are perfect," he said. "How are you today?" Maya swallowed her nerves and answered honestly, "I am tired, but I am happy to bake. Mama will be proud."
No.
Grant nodded and handed her a stack of notes. Maya counted silently under her breath. 1, 2, 3. Enough again. She slipped the money into her pocket, her cheeks flushing with gratitude. He studied her for a moment, his kind eyes gentle behind his glasses. Then he asked Maya, "Would you mind if I joined you for tea one day? I want to hear more about your life and your mother." Maya blinked. No one had ever asked her to sit and talk. She hesitated. Her mother was fragile, but she trusted Mr. Grant. She gave a small nod. "I would like that," she whispered, after the sales ended for the morning. Mr. Grant directed Maya to a small cafe on the ground floor. It was quiet and clean, with tables by the windows that overlooked the city. He ordered tea and hot milk. For Maya, and coffee for himself? He watched with interest as she sipped carefully. Her tiny hands curled around the warm cup. "Tell me about your grandmother," he said softly. Maya's eyes widened in surprise. She had not realized he had. Noticed the recipe book praising her Nani's memory. "My grandmother taught me to cook," Maya began, warming to the tale. "She was very kind. She loved to bake for neighbors and friends. She said food could bring people together." Maya paused and smiled at the memory. "She passed away last year. Just before she fell sick, she gave me her book. She said I could keep her kindness alive." Mr. Grant nodded, his expression gentle. "She sounds like a remarkable woman, and you honor her memory with each cookie you bake." They talked until the afternoon light turned golden. Maya found it easy to share stories about her mother's laughter, her own worries, and her dreams for the future. She spoke of school, of books she wanted to read, of being a baker when she grew up. Mr. Grant listened, as if her words were precious treasures. He asked questions, smiled, and encouraged her. When it was time to leave, Maya gathered her things, her cheeks rosy from talking. Mr. Grant handed her another envelope of money and a small card. "If you ever need help or ingredients, please let me know," he said. Maya opened the card later and found an address, a kitchen supply shop in the city. He had written that she could pick up ingredients on him. Walking home, Maya felt like she was floating. The coins in her pocket seemed weightless compared to the weight that had lifted from her heart. She hurried through the narrow streets, imagining the look on her mother's face when she told her about the tea and the gift. She waved to Mrs. Khan, who smiled and winked at her, as if she already knew good things were coming. At home, Maya found her mother sitting up in bed reading a thin magazine to stay awake. Rosa looked at Maya expectantly. "How was your day?" Maya held out the tin with a flourish. "He liked the cookies again, Mama, and he invited me to tea." Rosa's eyes widened with delight. "Tea? With the gentleman?" Maya nodded, her heart full. "Yes, he is very kind. Even gave me a card to get ingredients." Rosa took the tin and opened it, breathing in the sweet aroma. She touched Maya's cheek. "My brave girl, you inspire me." Maya sat beside her mother, sharing the warm cookies. They talked of simple things, keeping faith, small victories, and the beauty of life even in hard times. As the sun set, painting the walls pink and orange, Maya felt a peace she had not known in months. The illness still loomed, but for the first time she felt less alone. That night, Maya stayed up late again, baking for tomorrow's sale. She worked under the single bulb, the dough soft beneath her fingers. She thought of Nani's hands guiding, hers of Rosa's gentle smile, and of Mr. Grant's quiet strength. She carefully filled the tin, lining up each cookie like a tiny promise. Before she slept, Maya pressed the tin to her cheek and whispered, "Tomorrow will be another step." She placed it by her pillow and lay down. Outside, the city lights shimmered like stars that had fallen to earth, and she dreamed of a bright future where cookies were not just a way to survive, but a way to spread hope and kindness. In the stillness, Maya's faith felt unbreakable. She knew there would be hard days ahead, there always were, but she also knew that kindness would meet her at every turn. And so, with her heart full of courage, she closed her eyes and drifted into sleep, ready for part 3 of her journey. Maya woke before dawn yet again, her small hand brushing against the cool tin of cookies at her bedside. The day began the same way, a soft kiss to her mother's forehead. A quick journey to the kitchen and the rhythmic sound of flour sifting through her fingers. But today, Maya felt something new, a quiet hope in her chest that fluttered like a bird. She measured the flour carefully, remembering how her grandmother would say, "Measure with your heart," and Maya imagined her Nani smiling down at her. With each stir of the sugar and butter, the dough took shape beneath her fingers. She added a pinch of cinnamon and vanilla, inhaling the sweet, comforting scent. It reminded her of home, of laughter and warmth, before sickness had shadowed there. Lives by sunrise, 12 perfect cookies cooled on the rack. Maya packed them gently into the tin, smoothing the lid until it clicked into place. She wiped her hands on her coat and slipped outside. The morning air smelled of damp earth and dust. She made her way to the high-rise building again, her footsteps steady. The city was waking up now. Shopkeepers sweeping doorways, school children trotting along with backpacks, and cars humming in the distance. When Maya arrived at the lobby, the security guard gave her a nod. "Good morning, Maya," he said, leaning on his post. Maya smiled shyly and passed him the tin. He opened it, took a cookie, and nodded with approval. "Nice work," he said, dropping a coin in her palm. Each sale felt like a small triumph. Against worry and illness, upstairs, in his glass-walled office, Mr. Grant looked up as Maya appeared. His eyes, kind and thoughtful, behind round glasses, brightened at the sight of her. He opened the tin, took a cookie, and bit into it. His smile was gentle. "You did well today," he said. Maya's chest swelled with pride. After he paid her, Maya noticed he turned away briefly, glancing at something in his briefcase. She hesitated, but did not interrupt. Mr. Grant's expression shifted from warmth to something like surprise. He closed the briefcase softly and spoke as if recovering from a memory. "Maya, would you mind staying for a moment?" Maya paused, a thrill of curiosity mixing with nerves. She nodded and followed him into a small conference room with a long table and tall windows. Sunlight streamed in, warming the space. He gestured to a chair. "Please sit." Maya perched on the edge, clutching her tin in her lap. Mr. Grant moved to his desk and opened his briefcase again. From a neat folder, he withdrew a small photograph, the very photo Maya had given him on the first day. She recognized it instantly, her and her mother smiling together on a sunny day in their courtyard. Maya's heart thumped. "You have my photo?" she said softly. He held it carefully, as if it were made of glass. His eyes were distant, unfocused. "Yes," he said. He traced the outline of their faces with a finger. "I keep it with me. Maya, I look at it when I need courage." Maya felt a warm glow. She did not know her simple photo could mean so much to someone. Mr. Grant set the photo on the table and leaned forward. "I want to tell you something," he said quietly. Sat very still, her small hand tightening around the tin. She felt that this moment might change everything. He took a deep breath, his shoulders straightening. "Maya, that woman in the picture, your mother, she is someone I once knew very well, long ago." Maya blinked, confusion and wonder mixing. In her mind, "You knew my mother?" she whispered. Mr. Grant nodded, his voice soft. "Yes. Before she became unwell, she worked at a shop near my childhood home. She was always kind, with a bright laugh. I was young then, but I remember her face clearly." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "You see, I lost touch with her. Many years ago, I believed ... I believed she had passed away." His voice wavered, and Maya saw tears glisten in his eyes. Maya's breath caught. "But she is here, and she is very much alive," she said. She reached into her coat pocket and touched the small coins. Feeling the weight of their journey so far, Mr. Grant smiled softly, wiping his eyes. "Yes, and I want to help, Maya. Not just by buying your cookies, but by being sure your mother gets the care she needs. Tomorrow, I will arrange an appointment for her at the best clinic in the city." Maya's eyes filled with tears she had tried so hard to hold back. Relief, gratitude, and joy swept through her. "Thank you," she whispered, barely louder than a breath. He handed back the photo gently and said, "Keep it, Maya. It belongs with you and your mother." Maya pressed the photograph to her chest, afraid it might vanish if she let go too soon. After a moment, Mr. Grant rose and retrieved the tin of cookies. "Shall we have one more today?" he asked, offering Maya a seat once more. She nodded, her nerves settling into a calm warmth. They shared the cookies and tea, talking of simple things, school, recipes, and favorite memories. Maya laughed when he described a cooking disaster he once had trying to bake a chocolate cake for his sister. He laughed too when Maya admitted she sometimes ate too much dough before baking. When Maya finally stood to leave, she felt as if she were walking on air. The coins in her pocket seemed unimportant. Now her mother's treatment was arranged, and a deep connection had formed between her small family and Mr. Grant. She stepped out into the bright morning, her heart soaring. On the way home, she paused. At Mrs. Khan's shop, eager to share the news, Mrs. Khan beamed at her story, hugging Maya gently. "You have done more than sell cookies, child," she said. "You have brought hope back to your mother and to you." Maya hurried the rest of the way, thinking of her mother resting in bed, waiting for her. She climbed the stairs too, at a time, and burst into their tiny apartment. Rosa looked up, tired but expectant. Maya held out her hands. "Mama, he knows you?" Rosa's eyes widened in surprise, then filled with tears. "He knows me?" she asked, her voice trembling. Maya nodded, placing the photo in her mother's lap. "He said you were his friend long ago. He will help you go to a great doctor." Rosa stared at the photo, touching her own face with gentle fingers. A soft smile broke across her lips. "I remember him," she said quietly. "He was always so kind." She pressed the photo to her heart. Maya sat beside her mother, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. In that moment, they both felt a warmth that no illness could touch. The struggle was not over, but the path forward was clear. With every cookie baked and every coin earned, they had also rebuilt a lost friendship and rediscovered hope. That night, Maya did not feel the same fear that she had before. She baked the next batch of cookies with a light heart, humming her grandmother's song. She thought of Mr. Grant's promise and her mother's soft laugh. She arranged the cookies neatly, imagining them as little bridges carrying kindness. From her hands to the world, as she lay down to sleep, Maya placed the photograph on her pillow beside the tin. She closed her eyes with a smile. In her dreams, she and her mother walked hand in hand through a sunny field, laughing as cookies rained down like confetti. Tomorrow would bring part 4 of her journey. But tonight, Maya's heart was full, and her spirit soared, because she knew that sometimes the simplest acts, baking a cookie, sharing a smile, could change lives in ways no one expected. And for Maya and her mother, hope was alive again. Maya carried the tin of cookies through the lobby, her heart fluttering like a bird in her chest. But she also felt a new kind of strength that had grown inside her over the last few days. Mr. Grant waited, by the glass doors, his tall frame backlit by the morning sun. When he saw her, his face broke into a gentle smile that warmed Maya's spirit. "Good morning, Maya," he said, holding the door open. She stepped outside into a soft breeze, the city humming around them. He led her to a sleek car parked by the curb. Maya had never ridden in such a car before. The leather seats smelled faintly of flowers, and the seats were so smooth that Maya felt like she was floating. As the car glided away from the building, Maya watched familiar streets blur past. She thought of her mother waiting at home, a hopeful smile on Rusa's face. She held the tin in her lap, turning it gently so the cookies would not tumble. Mr. Grant glanced sideways at her and said softly, "We are going to see someone special today." Maya's heart quickened. She imagined meeting another stranger, but she knew in her bones that this was different. After a few minutes, the car slowed and stopped in front of a tall building with a sign that said Sunrise Medical Center. Maya recognized it was the clinic Mr. Grant had told her about. She swallowed hard, hope and nerves swirling together. Inside, They followed a nurse through bright corridors. Maya's small hand brushed against Mr. Grant's coat sleeve, and he offered her a reassuring nod. She felt safe. They arrived at a private consultation room, where they found Rosa sitting on a soft chair, her shoulders hunched, but her eyes bright when she saw Maya. "Mama." Maya ran forward and wrapped her mother in a tight embrace.
Ow.
Rosa's thin arms circled Maya, her eyes filling with tears of joy. "My brave girl," Rosa whispered, her voice catching. Mr. Grant stood back, watching the reunion with a tender smile. After a moment, he cleared his throat softly. "Rosa, it's good to see you," he said, stepping forward. Rosa looked up, searching his face. Recognition shone in her eyes, and her breath caught. "Nathaniel?" she whispered, using the name she had once known him by. He nodded, his own eyes glistening. They stood before each other like old friends reunited after a long journey. For a heartbeat, the room was still. Then Nathaniel reached out and gently took Rosa's hand. "I thought I'd lost you," he said, his voice trembling. Rosa's hand tightened around his. "I thought the same," she replied, her tears falling freely now. Maya watched them with wide eyes. Only moments before, she had been a little girl selling cookies without knowing the full story. Now she saw two people whose friendship had been broken by time and sorrow, finding each other again. Her heart swelled with pride and relief. Nurse returned to guide Rosa into an examination room. Maya and Nathaniel followed. A kind doctor greeted them and began the checkup. While the doctor worked, Nathaniel crouched beside Maya. "Thank you for bringing us together," he said softly. Maya shrugged, her cheeks pink. "I just baked cookies," she whispered. He smiled. Those cookies saved more than just money. When the checkup ended, the doctor explained that with proper treatment and rest, Rosa's condition could improve. He scheduled follow-up visits and treatments, all arranged and paid for by Mr. Grant. Maya felt a lightness in her chest. She had not known in months. Her mother would get the care she needed. They walked out of the clinic into the warm afternoon. Maya's legs felt wobbly, but she held on to hope. Nathaniel opened the car door for them. Rosa settled into the back seat beside Maya, and Nathaniel took the front. As the car pulled away, Maya looked at Rosa and saw the worry lines on her. Mother's face softened. Rosa squeezed Maya's hand and said, "You did this for me, my little cookie baker?" Maya smiled through tears. "We did it together, Mama." She turned to look out the window, thinking of the days ahead. Hospital visits, medicine, rest. She also thought of the life that would follow after her mother recovered. She imagined going back to school, making new friends, and maybe opening a small bakery with her grandmother's recipe book. Back at home, Mr. Grant insisted on helping around, carried the shopping bags inside, and unpacked groceries. Maya watched in amazement as he filled their shelves with fresh fruits, vegetables, and ingredients for baking. Rosa leaned on her. Kane but offered him a tired smile. "Thank you," she said. "You have given us a new beginning." In the kitchen that evening, Maya set about making a fresh batch of cookies. This time with new ingredients gifted by Mr. Grant. The flour was fine and white. The sugar bright and sparkling, and a small bottle of pure vanilla made the dough smell heavenly. Maya stirred the bowl slowly, each rotation a promise of sweetness and change. Rosa sat at the table, wrapped in a soft shawl. She watched her daughter with pride. "Your grandmother would be so proud," she said softly. Maya looked up, her eyes shining. "I want to make stories for people to remember," she said, "like Grandma did." Rosa nodded, her smile gentle. Mr. Grant joined them with a tray of tea and fresh oranges. He poured the tea into small cups and handed one to Rosa and one to Maya. He lifted his own cup and said, "To new beginnings." They clinked cups, and warm tea slid down Maya's throat like a gentle fire. The cookies baked in the oven released a comforting aroma that filled the apartment. Maya placed them on a plate and set them on the table. They shared the first cookies together, Rosa's tired face lighting up at each sweet bite, Nathaniel's thoughtful eyes closing in enjoyment, and Maya's heart bursting with joy. That night Rosa slept peacefully for the first time in weeks. Maya lay beside her, brushing a strand of hair from her mother's forehead. She looked at the photograph on the bedside table, the one she had given Nathaniel that first day. Now, it sat framed beside her bed, a reminder of hope and reunion. As Maya drifted to sleep, she thought of all they had overcome: illness, fear, and uncertainty. She also thought of kindness in the form of a stranger who bought cookies, in the kind words of a neighbor, and in her own determination. She knew the journey was not over, but she also knew that love and courage would guide them through whatever came next. In the glow of the night lamp, Maya closed her eyes. She dreamed of mornings filled with baking, afternoons full of laughter, and a future bright with possibilities. And she knew that no matter what happened, she and her mother would face it together with cookies, courage, and the kindness of a friend who saw them when they needed it most. Maya woke before the sun rose, but this morning she did not feel the usual flutter of nerves. Instead, a gentle calm filled her heart. She slipped from her bed, careful not to wake her mother, and tiptoed to the kitchen. The tin of cookies Grandmother had given her sat on the counter, empty now, proof of how far they had come. Last night Rosa had slept through the night without waking in pain. Today, Maya would bake cookies not to save money, but to celebrate the new life they had found. Rosa's treatment had begun at the Sunrise Medical Center. The medicine was strong and made her tired, but each dose gave her hope. The clinic staff had been kind. They greeted Rosa by name, offered warm blankets, and praised her bravery. Nathaniel visited often, carrying fresh fruits and flowers. Sometimes he brought books for Rosa to read, and sometimes he simply sat quietly beside her, holding her hand. Maya saw her mother laugh more these days. The lines of worry on Rosa's face were softening. At breakfast, Maya set a plate of warm cookies on the table. She had mixed in a little cocoa for variety, a new twist on her grandmother's recipe. Rosa's eyes lit up when she saw them. "Yes. Look amazing, my dear," she said, taking a cookie. Maya sat beside her, crumbling a piece into her milk. Nathaniel joined them, balancing a tray of tea and fresh fruit. He poured tea into 3 cups and smiled. "To health and new beginnings," he said. They clinked their cups together. After breakfast, Maya helped her mother get ready for the day. Rosa put on a bright dress that matched her renewed spirit. She looked at herself in the mirror and smiled, her eyes shining with gratitude. Maya brushed Rosa's hair gently, imagining they were at a fancy party rather than a clinic visit. When they were ready, Maya took Rosa's hand and led her downstairs. Nathaniel opened the door for them. Maya slipped her cookies into a small basket, and the 3 of them set off into the soft morning light. On the sidewalk, neighbors greeted them warmly. Mrs. Khan waved from her shop, and a few children called out, "Good luck, Maya." Maya beamed back. It felt strange today to sell cookies, but she was excited. Today was the day of the charity bake sale that Nathaniel had organized. He had invited the whole community to come to the park, buy treats, support families like Maya's. All proceeds would go to cover medical costs for children whose parents could not afford treatment at the park. Long tables were set up under colorful umbrellas. Each table held jars of cookies, plates of cakes, and stacks of bread. Maya's table was in the center, decorated with a simple cloth, and the photograph of her and her mother framed in the middle. A small sign read, "Baked with love for Rosa." People milled around, sampling treats, laughing and talking. The sun shone gently through the leaves and children ran in circles. Chasing bubbles, Maya arranged her cookies neatly, placing rows of golden treats on a plate. Some had sprinkles, some had nuts, and some were dipped in chocolate. She offered one to her mother, who tasted it and smiled brightly. "Perfect," Rosa said. Maya felt a thrill of pride. The crowd began to gather. Nathaniel stood at her side, greeting friends and shaking hands. He introduced Maya to strangers, saying she's the baker and she's amazing. Soon, people started buying cookies in pairs and tins, even by the dozen. Maya's heart danced with joy. She counted the money, but she did not need it today. Instead, she handed each note to Nathaniel, who dropped it into a clear box labeled "Charity for Families." With each donation, Maya felt that hope was spreading beyond her little family. Neighbors stopped to applaud her courage, and some children asked for her recipe. She giggled and shared her secret, a pinch of kindness in every cookie. After the bake sale, the box weighed heavy with donations. Nathaniel announced to the crowd that they had raised far more than enough. The cheers rose like birdsong. In the park, tears filled Maya's eyes as she hugged her mother. She saw that this was not just her story, it was everyone's story of kindness and community. The money would help many families, just as hers had been helped. When the park emptied and the tables were packed away, Nathaniel invited Maya and Rosa to a small celebration under a large oak tree. He had arranged a picnic with sandwiches, fruit, and more cookies. They sat on a soft blanket, enjoying the simple feast. Rosa leaned against Maya and sighed happily. "I feel so strong now," she said. Maya kissed her mother's forehead. "We did it together," she said softly. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in orange and pink, Nathaniel reached into his pocket. He handed Maya a small box wrapped in ribbon. Her eyes widened. Inside, she found a brand new recipe, book leather bound, with blank pages for her own creations. On the first page, Nathaniel had written, "For Maya's future bakery." Maya gasped, her hands trembling. She looked at her mother, then at Nathaniel. "Thank you," she whispered. "This means everything." Rosa smiled through tears. She squeezed Maya's hand. "Your dreams will come true, my brave girl." Maya held the book to her chest as if it were the most precious treasure. She thought of the journey, the tired mornings, the baking by the single bulb, the stranger who saw a little girl's courage and changed their lives forever. She knew that kindness could start a ripple that reached far away. That night, back in their apartment, Maya placed the new recipe book on the shelf beside her grandmother's old book. The two books stood together like old friends meeting anew. Maya tucked herself into bed, her head full of ideas, new cookie flavors, cakes, breads, and more. She drifted to sleep with a smile, dreaming of a bakery filled with laughter, warmth, and the scent of fresh baking. Rosa rested peacefully beside her, breathing easily. The illness that had shadowed their lives felt distant now. Maya thought of tomorrow, school, play, and baking. She knew life would have challenges, but she also knew that love, kindness, and a little bit of sugar could turn any day bright. She drifted deeper into sleep, her final thoughts a whisper, "We can do anything together." And so, Maya's story came to its end, not with a single chapter closed, but with a new book opened. A book of hope, kindness, and the sweet magic. That happens when a poor girl sells cookies to a millionaire, and in doing so, changes both their worlds forever.